Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. And tonight I am here with the new Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress. The first of the Warhammer Quest games to be set in the 40k universe. Now this is not going to be a full review because I've only played the game enough just to learn it. And even that, I'm still kind of learning the game. There's quite a bit to this game, to tell you the truth. And it's also not going to be like an unboxing or anything because everything's already unboxed and assembled. So I'm just going to kind of be showing what you get in the game, talking about how the game is played, and kind of going over the core campaign system of the game, which is incredibly robust, even though you don't really upgrade or level up characters like you do in other campaign games. This game has a unique campaign system that I have not seen yet in a board game. Part of it feels like an MMO style video game because there are actually raids in this, and the raids are long like they would be in an MMO or a game like Destiny or something, where you're going to play shorter games until you build up enough of a certain currency to attack a stronghold. And when you do a stronghold, you're going to be playing a much longer game. And so while you may be able to get through a single expedition of this in like a weeknight or something, the raids are going to be probably like a Saturday type event. It's a very, very interesting system, and it has a lot of moving parts going on in the campaign. And it's kind of a hard game to talk about. I was trying to explain to my buddies the other night. They came over and I wanted to say, hey, let me show you guys Blackstone Fortress and kind of talk to you about it. I'm trying to drum up some interest in the game from some friends, because while this game can definitely be played solo, for me personally, I feel like maybe there's a little bit too much going on for me. And also, I think some of the stuff in the game actually works a lot better with more than one person playing, and I'll go over a couple of those things. But I have heard some different questions people have been asking about it, some concerns people have about some of the aspects of the game. So I just kind of wanted to maybe address some of those and give a good general overview of what Blackstone Fortress is. So one of the complaints that I've seen a few times on a couple people's videos is that the game is too expensive. While it is not cheap, it is also, for what you get, it's a very good value. Board games are in and of themselves luxury items. Okay, nobody needs board games. Every board game is a complete, it's a frivolous expense that we are very lucky to be able to spend our money on. This is in the upper tier of expensive games at retail. When compared to a Kickstarter, there are games that are 5 times, well, maybe not 5 times, but yeah, with KDM, it's 10 times the price people pay, 20 times. What was it? The Satan Pledge was like, I don't know, was it 5,000, 4,000? I don't know. It was thousands of dollars, right? I mean, this game is anywhere between, I think, 120 and 150, depending on where you buy it. But you get so much in the game. First of all, you get a ton of these tiles, and they're very well made, super thick, double-sided with great art, hex-based tiles, and those are going to make up the combat encounters. And then you also get over 40 of these push fit models. Now I use some glue on mine because I think you still should glue some of the pieces together. But these models are absolutely incredible. So much detail. They feel good. They push together very easily. I had all 45 or so models built in maybe 2 hours or so. These are the heroes here in red, or the explorers, I guess they're called in this game. But they're very, very nice. Even the enemy models are pretty good. Not quite up to the detail as of the heroes, but these are the Negavolt cultists. And then you have the Traitor Guardsmen. Here's a sergeant. But very high quality, Games Workshop quality minis. I don't have them all out on the board. I have quite a few of them up in a box because I didn't need them to learn this scenario. And one cool thing is I believe there are two female heroes included in the game. That's the most female heroes I've seen included in a Games Workshop box game. So good job, guys. Yeah, so you get a ton of stuff. You get absolutely a ton of cards, a ton of cardboard, good quality chits, thick. The cards are nice. You get a ton of dice, some special custom dice, some bigger tarot style cards, some smaller style cards, spaceship tokens or cards, a really nice initiative track, a huge pile of equipment. So you really do get a lot component wise, and you also get a lot in the game. And this is going to be like kind of the bulk of this video, is going to be going over how this game progresses. And it's kind of a difficult place to start talking about the game because there are so many things. But let's start at the end. What you're trying to do is you are trying to get to the hidden vault in the Blackstone Fortress. Now, a Blackstone Fortress is a huge, like, planet-side kind of mystical force-powered fortress that is constantly changing shape, and people go in there to find lost treasures and relics, and they get lost in there and trapped. And I think something like whole, like almost like civilizations build up in these Blackstone fortresses. And one really nice thing is you get a book that has all kinds of background. So typical GW style, lore-focused gameplay, lore-informed gameplay. You get an entire manual that's full of nothing but background and story. Very cool. So you are trying to get to the hidden vault to open up this secret envelope. Now, I've heard, and I'm not sure if this is true or not, but I've heard that there are a few different, that not all of these envelopes contain the same material. So maybe somebody can confirm that or not. I don't know what's in here, so don't say what's in here. But you do get to open up something special. It looks like the size of an exploration card. So probably something like that, maybe a couple of new things to explore. But you're trying to get to the hidden vault to get this. To do that, you have to do 4 raids. And there are 4 different strongholds. Looks like I only have 3 of the cards. I think I got one of the cards mixed up in another. Yeah, there we go. So you have 4 different strongholds, and each of the strongholds has a name: the Null Gravity Abyss, the Corridor of Death, Descent, and the Death Maze. And each one of those strongholds is a pre-built dungeon that's in the Precipice book. And those are back here, and each one of those 4 has special rules that you can explore. And you have to beat all 4 of those before you can gain access to the hidden vault. And then once you get the hidden vault, you get to open up this. Now, to find the 4 strongholds, you have to go on expeditions into the Blackstone Fortress. And each time you go into you have an expedition, the expeditions are randomly generated. And you do so by taking a number of these exploration cards. These exploration cards come in 2 different flavors. I think there's about 20, I think there's like 19 non-combat. They're called challenges. And then there is the same amount of combat. So what you do is when you go on a new expedition, you take 4 combat encounters. You take 4 exploration or challenge encounters, and then you mix those together. And this will create a deck of 8 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is your expedition for that night of gaming. And then at the beginning of one turn, you flip over the exploration card and you encounter this. So this would be an ambush encounter. You set up the map as such, and the ambush starts from there. You complete that combat encounter, and then you go on to the next exploration phase. Flip that over, oh, it's another combat. You do that combat. Looks like I poorly shuffled. You would do that combat. And then finally a challenge. So this is one of the challenges you do. Now the combat can be pretty long, maybe a little too long for my personal tastes. So you could look anywhere between a session of game, I think, lasting about 3 hours probably. And then this challenge would be, as the explorers move deeper into the Blackstone Fortress, one discovers a valuable object. Roll 4 activation dice for each explorer. The explorer with the highest total draws a discovery card. If multiple explorers are tied, each draws it. So some of them are just little random things like that. Some of them actually have some little dexterity games you would play, or rolls charts you can roll on, or kind of pressure luck style things that can happen. So there's quite a bit of variety and in each expedition. And so while you're on the expeditions, you're going to be looking for these numbered spaces. And those numbered spaces represent places where you can make a search action. And when you search, you're going to be drawing from this discovery deck. And this discovery deck will have a number of things, first of which are clues. These are what you're going to be looking for to find the strongholds that will eventually lead you to the hidden vault. You need 4 clues in the party to find out enough information that will lead you to one of the strongholds. But then you can also get this archaeotech, and this represents kind of money that you can spend in between the expeditions when you go back to Precipice. So at any time during an expedition that you complete an encounter card, whether it be a combat or a challenge card, as a party, as a group, you can decide to abandon that expedition because some wounds you can't heal while you're on an adventure. You can only heal when you're back at your ship. And so at certain points, you can decide to leave and go back to your ship. Now, each of the explorers has their own ship that they take to and from the base into the Blackstone Fortress. And each one of these ships has a special action that that hero can take or any other hero can take while they are on an expedition. And they range anywhere from like support type things to help you heal, to cloaking devices, to devastating weapons. But when you take your ship back to the base, you flip them over and they become different facilities that you can utilize while you are recuperating from the adventure. So there are 6 different ships offering you, so like that's 6 special actions and then 6 different places you can visit, kind of like the settlement locations in Warhammer Quest. Now, each one of these doesn't have a event chart to roll on, so that would be really cool. I would really like to see them expand this game with more event chart type non-combat encounters, which I think would be pretty cool. But however, each ship also has their own deck of resource cards. And when you're back at your ship, if one of these, if like the Vanguard ship is docked, then you can take this deck and pick 3 cards, and that will give you a chance to buy these items to take with you into your next adventure. Most of these are one-off items. Some of them are extra actions that you can take. And so like I said, there are quite a few different items you can buy to upgrade your character with. Now there are 8 heroes, and as you go on adventures, heroes are going to die. And when they die, you actually slip one of these in with their character card. Because these characters actually, like when they're not taking part in an expedition, they are in a stasis chamber, which is a really fancy, nice plastic bag. And you store their character card in there with all of their items. And then the next time you go on an expedition, you choose 4 explorers to go on the expedition, and then you just take out the one you want with their equipment. Now, if they're dead, you put one of these in there. And one of the ships has a chance to bring a dead explorer back to life. But if there are ever, that's a weird sentence to say, less than or fewer than 4 explorers, you lose the campaign. Additionally, and I think this is the final thing about the campaign system, every time you go back to Precipice, you go back to the base, whether it be from successfully completing an expedition or abandoning an expedition, one of the first things you do is you draw one of these legacy cards. Now, these are all mostly bad things, and what they do is they make the game progressively get a little more difficult each time you go back to the fortress. Because one thing about these Blackstone Fortresses is they are kind of constantly learning about the things that are infiltrating them. And so you have to draw one of these. Now there are 12, I believe. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There are 12 legacy cards. So that means that you have to find the hidden vault and make a final assault on the Blackstone Fortress before the 12th legacy, or before 13 of these would be drawn. Once you have to draw one and there are none left in the deck, then that campaign is over. So the longest this campaign will go for is 13 sessions, I believe. Now some of these are just countdowns. So let's say I was playing this adventure and I abandoned it and I went back to Precipice and I drew this, turn it over, it's a countdown. So this just represents time being wasted. Okay, but then the next time I went in and I came back, and let's say I drew this one, Rogue Psychers. Well, now I include this enemy type in my potential encounter deck. And so this enemy type is a little more difficult than one of the starting enemies. And so there's a chance that these rogue psychers will be an enemy type that I will have to face in the next adventure. So there are a number of those. I won't spoil any of the others for you. There are a few different little event type cards that add things. But this deck is going to be constantly growing while you're playing. And as it grows, you can, of course, store it in its own little fancy bag. And this becomes the stasis chamber for the legacy deck. Now, you don't really rip anything up or put stickers on anything. It's not a full legacy game, but there are legacy aspects, and I really like that. I think that is super cool. I like this kind of legacy game because it's super easy to reset, and there's just enough permanence in the character progression with their items, with this, and with how the characters live and die. So real quick, we will just go over like a character real quick. So this is Thaddeus the Purifier. He's a Ministorm priest. His ship is the Clarion. So as a support, when I'm on an adventure, I have an infrared loud hailers. Once per expedition, at the start of the gambit step of an initiative phase, the leader can use Clarion's infrawave loud hailers. Laud hailers, I think. If they do so in that gambit step, each explorer can perform a gambit without having to spend an activation dice. A gambit is a way for a hero to move up the initiative track while a adversary group would move down, basically. Now, when he's back at the base, his ship allows for this. The Excruciation Chamber. Roll the Blackstone dice, which is just a basic D20. You can re-roll the dice if the explorer using this facility is Thaddeus. So anybody can use it, but if the owner uses it, it's a little better. Or Pious Vorn. And that's the other little, this chick here with the flamethrower. So on a 1, the explorer must discard a clue card if they have one. On a 2 to 15, nothing happens. On a 16 plus, they receive a clue card. So you can actually look for, I think they're kind of like torturing somebody to get a clue about where the next stronghold is. But the way that the characters work is on their activation, you roll 4 dice, and then those become their numbers they can use on their character card to do certain things. Now, if they're wounded, and you put a wound token here covering up one of their activation spaces, then they only have 3 dice to choose from. And as these fill up, that's how a hero dies. But each hero has a number of different things they can do. So he can use this action for using a dice that's 1 or higher. And then depending on the range, he rolls a certain dice. So this 12-sided dice has the best chance of hitting. 1 pip is a regular hit, 2 pips are critical hits, blanks or misses. The 6-sided dice is an absolute bastard. I hate this die to death. It has 1 chance to hit and 1 chance to critical hit. It is the worst die in the history of dice. And then you have a 4-sided dice, and it has, let's see, 2 regular hits and 2 crits. So the dice are very mean in this game. But then you can also use his servo stubber for using a die that's a 3 or a 5. And then each one of those has a special kind of rule. But then they also have unique actions. A rallying cry. Using a 6 or higher, I can remove 1 wound counter from him, and then all other explorers in the same hex or adjacent. Then each hero also has a secret agenda. And this is something that they do to get inspired. And when that triggers, you get to flip the card over to their inspired side. And then they become stronger. So, yeah, that was just kind of a brief-ish overview of Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress. Oh yeah, I was going to talk a little bit about why I think this game is not so good of a solo game. Well, at least for me. Okay, first of all, there is a lot going on these heroes. They have a lot of abilities. The enemies have quite a few abilities, including an activation chart. For me personally, I know I'm not the best game player, so for me there is almost too much going on in this game for me to enjoy it as a single player. And the fact that you always have to play with four explorers. I like to play my solo games with like 2 heroes at the most, so it's a little, I'm not as enthused about this game as a solo game, but I am gonna give it a shot. However, there are some challenge cards that I've noticed that really don't work as a single player. So this one is kind of a press your luck, and what you would do is you deal out 4 discovery cards. So 4 of these cards we're looking for clues or money, and then on each card you put 2 wound tokens, and you go in leader order, which means the first starting with the leader and then going around the table, but player by player. You have a choice. You can either remove a wound from one of the discovery tokens or discovery cards, or take the discovery and also inflict the wounds on that discovery on your hero. So you're deciding whether or not you're going to take wounds or maybe help somebody else get one for fewer wounds. You're going to be greedy. So that works really well in the theme of this game, because the explorers aren't necessarily a group of comrades. They're not a fun-loving group of heroes who love each other, and they're not the Fellowship of the Ring. They're mercenaries, they're rogues, they're inquisitors, they're people who are all working together to defeat a common enemy for a common goal, but they're not necessarily friends. And so playing that way as a single player, it kind of, in my opinion, gets in the way of the theme a little bit. However, it's still just, it seems, I can't say this for sure because I haven't played enough of it, but it seems like an absolutely fantastic game. There is so much going on in this game. There's so much to it. You get a ton of game in this box. I mean, probably I've heard like 40 to 50 hours worth of game, and they're already expanding it. There's already a new expansion coming out next Saturday in White Dwarf. There's a new artifact card and a new mission. And they're promising that this is going to be a game that is going to be expanded for a long time to come. Hopefully, maybe this will become like their most expanded specialty box game, because they seem to abandon their specialty games much quicker than I would like. So anyways, I hope I answered some of your questions you had about this game. I hope I made this game sound interesting, because it really is. If you think it's expensive, just pay attention to everything you get in terms of components and gameplay. There's a lot to this, guys. So, all right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and we will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.